Announcements none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
To ask the Prime Minister, Minister of Home Affairs, External Communication and National Development Unit, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, whether in regard to Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho and his group of companies, he will A, state if an inquiry has been carried out into the sources of funds thereof, B, state why responsibility for investment banking was transferred from the Bank of Mauritius to the Financial Services Commission, C, for the benefit of the House, obtain information as to the licenses and permits issued thereto by the Board of Investment, including under the Hotel Investment Scheme, Real Estate Scheme, Integrated Resort Scheme, and Property Development Scheme, and by other regulatory financial institutions, if any. D, state the permits issued thereto under the Non-Citizens Property Restriction Act. E, state if VIP facilities have been extended thereto. And F, state if a commission of inquiry will be set up to inquire thereinto.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for his PNQ, which gives me an opportunity to shed light on some of the various aspects of the Sobrinho case. In fact, this PNQ is welcome as so many perceptions and misperceptions as against value judgments, so many innuendos, and so much information and disinformation have been echoed in the media and by politicians desperate to discredit the government. Madam Speaker, concerning Part A of the question, I am informed that the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Financial Services Commission, and the Bank of Mauritius have carried out various inquiries into the sources of funds of Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho and his group of companies. It is also the duty and responsibility of commercial banks to conduct a due diligence exercise on their customers before any funds are credited. Concerning the FSC, the Commission processed and scrutinized the applications as per its established procedures and practices. The applications were supported by all necessary documents, including constitutive documents, customer due diligence on promoters, beneficial owners, shareholders and directors, prospectus, and administration agreement, amongst others. The scrutiny revealed that, I quote, in June 2011, Álvaro Sobrinho, president of the Banco Espírito Santo de Angola, was suspected in the Portuguese investigation to 48 million illegally transferred from Banco Nacional de Angola to the main national banks through the BES. 3 Portuguese businessmen are also being investigated by the judicial police, unquote. The Commission requested the management company, NWT Mauritius Limited, for an enhanced due diligence to be conducted on Mr. Sobrinho and requested the applicants to provide their comments with respect to an allegation that Mr. Sobrinho was the subject of an investigation into money laundering involving transfer of $4.5 million by Mr. Sobrinho. The following documents were submitted. 1. Summary of criminal proceedings dated 23rd of May 2013 carried out against Mr. Sobrinho, both in Angola and Portugal. 2. Notice of clearance from the Public Prosecution Service Attorney General's Office of Angola dated 8th of November 2011, declaring that the state of Angola had no wish to pursue any legal action against Mr. Sobrinho. The 9th Criminal Division of the Lisbon Court of Appeal on the 7th of July 2017 allowed the appeal lodged by Mr. Sobrinho against the seizure of his assets in Portugal, which assets were seized on suspicions that they were the product of various financial crimes, including misappropriations of money, embezzlement, money laundering, breach of trust, etc. There was a fresh application by the Public Prosecutor's Office of Portugal to quash the above decision, and it was again rejected on the 29th of September 2016. Based on the submissions and on being satisfied that the applications were in order, the Commission granted the following licenses. 1. Category 1 Global Business License and Collective Investment Scheme Manager License on the 28th of August 2015, and an Investment Advisor Unrestricted License on 22nd of March 2016 to AS African Asset Management Limited. 2. Category 1 Global Business License and authorization to operate as a collective investment scheme on 28th August 2015, and an authorization to be converted into a closed-end fund on 23rd March 2016 to Álvaro Sobrinho Africa ASA Fund. 3. Category 1 Global Business License and authorization to operate as a collective investment scheme on 28th of August 2015, and an authorization to be converted into a closed-end fund on 23rd March 2016 to passé fund. And 4th, investment banking license on 25th November 2016 to Álvaro Sobrinho Africa Limited. It was only in February 2017 that fresh information came to light, namely that, I quote, "The ongoing investigation by the Portuguese Criminal Investigation and Penal Action Department has reportedly uncovered a pattern of unsecured loans by BESA, that is Banco Espírito Santo de Angola, and the recipients of these loans without collaterals belong to the Espírito Santo Group, to companies linked to Álvaro Sobrinho. Former DCI-AP prosecutor Orlando Figueira was arrested by PJ Police on suspicion that he received bribes up to €1 million to ensure lawsuits involving on high-ranking figures in Angola was archived. According to reports, Figueira is believed to have ordered the closure of as many as 10 cases, including that of former president of BS Angola, Álvaro Sobrinho, unquote. In view of the foregoing, the licensees have been requested not to start operations without the prior clearance of the chief executive. So far, none of the licensees belonging to the group of companies of Mr. Sobrinho have commenced operations. Furthermore,
Don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. Please proceed. The Prime Minister, please proceed.
Furthermore, the Prime Minister's office was informed by the Board of Investment that Mr. Álvaro de Oliveira Madaleno Sobrinho had previously been involved in the following litigations or controversies. 1. The Portuguese authorities had investigated on Mr. Álvaro de Oliveira.
Point of order, stand up. We have half an hour. Last time the same thing happened, long replies, and we are unable, Madam Speaker, on a matter of national importance to ask questions. I would ask you to ask the Honourable Prime Minister not to say things that have already been published by the FSC, because that is public knowledge, firstly, and to limit his intervention so that the opposition can raise this matter of extreme importance to the country.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, can I? Honourable Leader of the Opposition, let me say that since this is a matter of national importance, I will give additional time to the opposition so that they can raise their points.
Well, and then the question itself is at 6 parts. So you must allow me to answer the question.
No.
Otherwise, then you will be saying all the time that we are not answering questions.
Honourable Prime Minister, sorry. Honourable Prime Minister, please. Please, I have already given my ruling. Please, no interruptions, please. Allow me to make your point. When I am on my feet, I have said several times that the House should be silent. Honourable Prime Minister, you may proceed with your reply, but I'll give additional time, as I have said, to the opposition so that they can raise their questions. Please.
Yes, I was saying that the Prime Minister's office was informed by the Board of Investment that Mr. Álvaro de Oliveira Marcelo Sobrinho had previously been involved in the following litigations, controversies. 1, the Portuguese authorities had investigated on Mr. Álvaro for suspicion of money laundering when he was the chairman of Banes Spirits Santo Angola, but Mr. Álvaro de Oliveira Sobrinho was later cleared by the Court of Appeal. 2, Mr. Sobrinho was also a shareholder of Acoya Asset Management, a Swiss wealth management company that was subjected to a judicial investigation by the Swiss authorities, which cleared Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho. World check carried out by the Board of Investment has revealed nothing adverse against Mr. Sobrinho. Following a counter-verification made by the Prime Minister's office, the latter was informed by the Counter-Terrorism Unit on 24th of October 2016 that Mr. Sobrinho is not borne on its records. As regards Part B of the question, during the preparation of the budget 2016-2017, the Ministry of Financial Services, Good Governance and Institutional Reforms made a series of proposals for inclusion in the budget speech, one of which was the introduction of an investment banking and corporate advisory license to be issued and regulated by the Financial Services Commission. The Bank of Mauritius was consulted, and besides providing its input, was fully supportive of this measure in order to avoid regulatory arbitrage between the Bank of Mauritius and the FSC. The central bank proposed that an amendment be made to the definition of bank in the Banking Act by deleting investment banking business from the activities of commercial banks licensed by the central bank. Consequently, the Bank of Mauritius and the Ministry of Financial Services, Good Governance and Institutional Reforms proposed draft legislative amendments to the Banking Act and the Financial Services Act, respectively, which were then forwarded to the State Law Office for appropriate vetting and for inclusion in the Finance Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2016. Under the new section 79A of the Financial Services Act 2007, an entity holding an investment banking license may conduct the following activities: investment dealer, full service dealer including underwriting, investment advisor corporate finance advisory, asset management, and distribution of financial services. The following legal provisions already existed in the Financial Services Act, Securities Act, and appropriate FSC rules, and therefore the activities falling under the investment banking and corporate advisory license were by and large already covered by different licenses which the FSC was already empowered to issue. Namely, investment dealer means the holder of a license issued under Section 29 of the Securities Act and as categorized under Rule 4 of the Securities Licensing Rules. Investment advisor means the holder of a license issued under Section 30 of the Securities Act and as categorized under Rule 5 of the Securities Licensing Rules. Investment advisor means the holder, corporate finance advisory means the holder of a license issued under Section 30 of the Securities Act and as categorized under Rule 5 of the Securities Licensing Rules. Asset management means the holder of a license issued under Section 14 of the Financial Services Act, and distribution of financial services products means the holder of a license issued under Section 14 of the Financial Services Act to carry out this activity. It is to be noted that Rule 6.2 of the Financial Services Investment Banking Rules 2016 specifically provides that, and I quote, "No person holding an investment banking license shall conduct banking business as defined in the Banking Act unless that person holds a banking license issued under the Banking Act." Banking business is defined as per Section 2 of the Banking Act 2004. A holder of an investment banking license
Prime Minister, can I just interrupt you to tell you not to go into too much details, because we are already nearing half an hour for the PNQ, and that I cannot allow any. I will allow additional time, but I will not allow half an hour additional time to the opposition.
Therefore, a holder of an investment banking license cannot accept deposits and carry out banking business, such as issuing of checks. As regards Part C of the question, I am informed that Mr. Sobrinho has been issued with an occupation permit under Section 9A of the Immigration Act as investor with Álvaro Sobrinho African Asset Management Limited for a period of 3 years, starting 6 October 2015 to 6 October 2018. With regard to his investments in the property schemes, Mr. and Mrs. Sobrinho have acquired a residential property under the real estate scheme from Hydra Properties Limited, a development within Royal Park, Balaklava. The said property was acquired on 16th of November 2016 for an amount of 52 million rupees.
Can I ask the opposition not to interrupt the Honorable Minister? Please, we are losing time if we do. Allow him to give his reply.
No problem. Rika.
Bhagwan, please.
Rika,
Be patient. Just be
Rika,
patient. Now, honorable members, if we interrupt, interruptions can only come. Honorable members, order, I said, order, please. Now, we are already half an hour. In half an hour, usually we allow half an hour for PNQ. Now the reply has not been completed yet. And if you continue to interrupt, we will have to give additional time. How much time can we take on the PNQ? Honorable Prime Minister, please proceed. And I would appeal to the opposition members to be calm, not to interrupt. They will have time to ask questions. Okay, please proceed.
Open requin, moi, c'est bon. So the said property was acquired on 16th of November 2016 for an amount of 52 million rupees. No other applications from Mr. Sobrinho for acquisition of property under the Hotel Investment Scheme, the Real Estate Scheme, Integrated Resort Scheme, and Property Development Scheme have been received. As regards licenses from the Financial Services Commission, I have already provided the information in my reply to Part A of the question. Madam Speaker, as regards Part D of the question, I am informed that the Board of Investment had on 28 September 2016 recommended an application in respect of Van Gogh Properties Limited, a non-citizen under Section 3(c)(4) of the Non-Citizens Property Restriction Act for the acquisition of 2 plots of freehold land being lot number B 450 and lot number B 451 of an extent of 1,916 meters square and 1,922 meters square, respectively at Eben at a price of $1,240,000 US dollars, which is approximately 43,586,000 rupees. Van Gogh Properties Limited is a private company limited by shares and incorporated on 20th of June 2016 and is the real estate arm of the Álvaro Sobrinho Africa Group. The sole shareholder of Van Gogh Properties Limited is Álvaro de Oliveira Madaleno Sobrinho, who is holder of a Portuguese passport delivered by the Portuguese Republic on 1st of June 2015. In Mauritius, Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho is holder of an occupation permit delivered by the Passport Immigration Office on 8th October 2015 and valid until 8th October 2018. According to the promoter, the purpose of the acquisition of the property is to develop a science, technology, and innovation park and will cater for the expansion of the current asset management activities of the Álvaro Sobrinho Africa Group in Mauritius through the construction of a 7-story building at Eben. Madam Speaker, in regard to Part E of the question, Mr. Sobrinho was granted access to the arrival and departure VIP lounges at Sesiusaga-Rambulam International Airport following requests made by the Secretary to the President on 31 occasions during the period 1st of October 2015 to 21st February 2017. Mr. Sobrinho was accompanied by his family members or close collaborators on 21 occasions. I wish to point out that it has so far been the practice to extend such facilities to special guests of some personalities.
Order. Order.
Madam,
Honorable Bhagwan. Honorable Bhagwan, please.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
in regard to Part F of the question, given that there are already various investigations being carried out by the Financial Services Commission and other bodies, including the CCID, on alleged false and misleading statements made to the FSC in connection with a license application by one of the companies of the group, and also given the fact that local commercial banks are satisfied with the sources of funds, I consider that the setting up of a commission of inquiry is not justified. Madam Speaker, let me assure the Honourable Leader of the Opposition and the House that no stone is being left unturned or shall be left unturned to establish the facts and the truth in the Álvaro Sobrinho case. And this is why and how, for example, the contents of an article which appeared in the Express newspaper of yesterday, Monday, 3rd of April 2017, on yet another case of alleged financial malpractices are also being investigated by the Ministry of Financial Services, Good Governance and Institutional Reforms.
Yes, Honourable Leader.
Speaker, before I start, I'll say that I am aware that I'm not allowed to raise any matter concerning Her Excellency the President, and I shall not do so. I will also draw your attention, Madam Speaker, that we are nearly 30 minutes into the
Yes,
PNQ.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I have already said that I will give additional time to this. I don't think there's any need for you to come on that matter again. I know that the Honourable Prime Minister has already taken half an hour to reply. I will give equal time to the opposition to reply. You don't have to come back on this issue.
We are grateful. Madam Speaker, we are dealing with Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho, who is suspected and said to be involved in international money laundering, fraud on a giant scale, running down a bank which eventually cost the Portuguese taxpayer 5 billion euros, involved in money laundering in Portugal through the investment in property, and involved in hiding his money. Hold on, but Madam Speaker, you're not going to have 30 minutes.
Order! Order, please. Honourable Leader of Opposition, please sit down. Please sit down. I'll give a ruling. Now, order, please. Order. I have said that usually I give the leeway, especially to the Leader of the Opposition. Honourable members must have observed that on a PNQ, I give the leeway to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to explain so that his question can become more intelligible. I'll give you that leeway, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, but please don't make an abuse of it.
I am not abusing of it, Madam Speaker, and I'll explain why. Because the Honourable Prime Minister has said everything except what he ought to have said. That is under Section 18 and Section 20 of the Financial Services Act, and the Honourable Prime Minister should be aware of that. It is not a question of being convicted. It is only a question of reputation. You have to be a fit and proper person, and it says, and I can read it, Madam Speaker, here it is, in considering whether a person is fit and proper, and this is why I'm talking about reputation. He says here, you will have regard to the reputation, character, financial integrity, banks going bankrupt, and reliability. Madam Speaker, this is why I've taken the time. And this is why I'm asking the Honourable Prime Minister why it is that despite this person having such a terrible reputation of being an international crook, and I've been taking the trouble of downloading from the internet, from Google, it's free of charge, Google. You download from Google files 2014, posts 2014, 2015, 2016. I've taken the trouble and I'm tabling this. And I'm asking the Honourable Prime Minister why it is that the usual due diligence, the usual safeguards which protect our financial services centre, which protect the 20,000 people that work there, why this has been bypassed and overlooked.
Madam Speaker, the authorities, I'm informed, has not bypassed any procedure. They have, according to the law and according to their own practical guidelines, they have entertain these applications. They have been in touch with institutions in other countries to have a world check. And I have just answered, and I'm not going to repeat everything. What is being said, of course, as and when at that time information were available, those informations have been looked into and nothing adverse has been found against this gentleman. Whenever, I have also replied, whenever there have been other information, leave aside whether they are from institutions in those countries, but even when there are information that has been circulated in terms of allegations, those are also being investigated. Therefore, as I say, at the time when the permits were being given, there was nothing adverse against him, and we will continue. And as I've said, the FSC has taken the decision to ask the licensees not to start operation pending, of course, there are other investigations that are being carried out, and in fact, we are also awaiting, FSC is also awaiting for a certain response from other institutions.
Madam Speaker, après la mort la tisane. Here we are. We have this person of very bad reputation who has overridden all the safeguards that exist in this country. And why we are asking for a commission of inquiry? Because we want to know, the people of Mauritius want to know, who has interfered with the FSC, who has put pressure on the Board of Investment to get these permits delivered to these people illico presto. That is the reason why we want an inquiry.
Who has, the leader of the opposition is putting a question as if he knows. Tell us. But you can say, who has interfered? We don't have, there is no information of any interference from any politician so far.
Honorable Thierry Henry, please.
There is no information of any interference whatsoever from any politician. Wow, unless because he's having new friends now. Probably that he would be having information and then he should tell us.
In a moment, Madam Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister made a statement a few days ago to say that he had looked into the eyes of Mr. Sobrinho and he had completely whitewashed him. He has no money laundering. He has inherited money from several generations of people. Whilst, Madam Speaker, there's an inquiry, the Prime Minister just said, ongoing inquiry just now as to on this very person. My question is, isn't it obvious? There it is, obvious. Who is putting pressure on FSC, on FIU? It is quite obvious, public knowledge, that whitewashing has already been done by the government.
Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is saying that looking into the eyes, how many times he's been looking into the eyes of so many people? Does it mean to say that, I don't know whether the Deputy Prime Minister, after having met Mr. Álvaro, what he has stated, but even whatever he stated, he is fully entitled to his own opinion. That is his business. But that is not...
Please, order, please. Honorable Utim, please. If there is no order, we won't be able to conduct the business of the House. I draw your attention once more to this. And we will be running out of time. You won't have time to ask the questions.
Yeah. No, I haven't finished. Wait. Now, whoever is meeting with Mr. Álvaro, even be it a politician, a minister from government side, that has no effect on the institutions. That has nothing to do with whether the allegation that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is trying to make, that as if this had put pressure on institutions. Not at all. Not at all. I can reassure the public that all the inquiries are being looked into, they are going to be conducted, and of course, the outcome will tell us and will dictate what action the institutions will take.
Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister défend l'indéfendable. Yesterday only, Honourable Kodan Develu, at the end of his bureau politique, said, I'm not going to make any comment on the Sampat issue. It will affect the investigation. And the Sampat issue is going to affect the investigation. But on something like this, where he's...
Please. Order, please. Order. Honourable Ratna, please. I'm on my feet. Now, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, you have... Honourable Leader of the Opposition, please, I'm addressing myself to you. You've asked your question. You should ask supplementary questions based on your main questions, and you should not drag other issues in that question. Please.
Speaker, I don't know what is wrong with you. Here I am. I have to illustrate the fact there is adopting two measures. One measure is for lovely Mrs. Sampat. The other measure is for lovely Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho. Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho, billions of rupees have gone missing, have been stolen, have been money laundered. One deputy prime minister comes after an hour, says he's clean, he's got nothing. He can invest billions of rupees in this country. Let me ask a question. Madam Speaker, if you're going to interrupt, you should have interrupted him when he went on for 30 minutes.
No.
Madam Speaker.
Please. No, I will not allow this. Please sit down. Please sit down. I'm on my feet. Honourable Leader of Opposition. Order, please. Order. Honourable Mrs. Perrault. Honourable Sudan. Order, I've said. Honourable Jugnauth. Have you seen that I am on my feet? Right. Honourable Perrault, please. Calm down. I know that you are very passionate about these questions, but Honourable Leader of Opposition, I will not allow you to question my prerogatives. I have said several times that I'll give you additional time. Now, you are running out of your additional time if you come up with things which are not related to your main question. Right? I ask you to proceed with your question.
In almost every question you're interrupting me. That also, Madam Speaker, is going to be clear. Madam Speaker, I am going to ask this question because at the same meeting,
interruptions again?
At the same declaration to the press, Honourable Kodan Develu has welcomed billions of rupees, s'il vous plaît, of investment in the energy sector. Billions of rupees have probably been laundered elsewhere. And also, Madam Speaker, I am surprised that the Honourable Prime Minister has not mentioned huge investments being made by the Álvaro Sobrinho Group in Wild Park in the north of Mauritius. No.
Please. I have said time and again, I'll repeat myself. I have given only half an hour additional time for questions. You are losing the time of the House and you are losing your opportunity to ask questions.
Madam Speaker, this is my information. Of course, if the Leader of the Opposition has more than what I have replied, but then you should say, let me repeat, Madam Speaker, it's good for me to repeat that to my information is that Mr. and Mrs. Sobrinho, they have acquired a residential property.
Now you continue to interrupt. I have said, Honourable Sewak Singh, please, you have to behave as well.
and then that was under the real estate scheme from Hydre Properties Limited, which is, of course, a development within the Royal Park, Balaklava. Now, the said property was acquired on the 16th of November 2016 for an amount of 52 million rupees. And I can say my office has confirmed to me that no other applications from Mr. Sobrinho for acquisition of property under any other schemes have been received at the Prime Minister's office.
Speaker, the Prime Minister should be aware that the same Mr. Sobrinho is purchasing 131 villas and apartments at Royal Park. It is common knowledge. Under the VEFA, it is common knowledge. And this investment is going to be above 1 billion rupees. My point is, and I can tell you also which senior member of government accompanied Mr. Sobrinho there. I can tell you also. Now,
Order, please. Order. We won't be able to finish the business of the House like this.
Now.
Yes. Honorable Leader of the Opposition, if you say, Honorable Sudan, please. Honorable Leader of Opposition, if you've got evidence, you lay it on the table of the Assembly and you take your responsibility for this. But please be careful. You should not impute motives and make allegations.
The 131 villas, it's common knowledge. And I will ask the Honourable Prime Minister to be very careful not to mislead the House, because everything will come out in the end. And that's where you may have been misled. I accept that. But you should be careful. The information, precise information, is that there's a huge investment going on by this group to Royal Park, adding on to the huge investment that Honourable Colin Davalou has mentioned in the energy sector, add on to the open door policy, VIP treatment that he's receiving, adds only to the fact that this gentleman has seen Mauritius as a soft target, has used the subterfuge of a charity to enter into the highest echelons of the state and launder his money and ruin the reputation of Mauritius, which is already being done at the moment as we speak.
What's your question? Is that your question?
This is my question.
Well, Madam Speaker, and for that matter, any investor intends to either invest in a project or acquire property, and in fact acquiring so many, the normal procedure will have to apply. That is, they will have to either apply to the Board of Investment, and ultimately, if there is anything to do with non-citizens' restrictions of property act, they will need to get the authorization of the Prime Minister's office. This is what I can say generally. Well, I am informed that there is no such investment at the moment. There has been, and there's no such investment. Well, Madam Speaker, I can only confirm what...
Now, I am on my feet again just to tell you that you are not allowed cross-talking. You ask your question officially. The question is being answered officially, but no comments and no cross-talking.
I think your ears are playing games with you. I didn't say anything at all. Madam Speaker, I would like now to ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he's aware of GN15. GN15 is a very weird piece of regulation issued by Financial Services Commission. GN15 says that from now on, all investments into any financial services company in Mauritius, whoever, whatever, money launderer, crook, whatever, no longer requires FSC approval only if it is in a non-voting share. So you can buy the whole of the financial services sector in Mauritius. As long as you do not vote, you don't require at all any permission from anyone. I'm going to ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether this is at all related to the Álvaro Sobrinho affair. And this is GN15.
Well, I am not aware of the contents. Yeah, I will look into it. When was it gazetted? Who made it? And what is the purport of it also? This we should know. And then I will come back to the House with regard to this law.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether final responsibility for the budget, for the Finance Act, comes to him. This decision, and I think he mentioned it at the end of his speech just now, to transfer the investment banking responsibility from Bank of Mauritius to Financial Services Commission has proved to be a disaster. Both licenses that have been given appear to have been given to international crooks. Therefore, I would ask the Honourable Prime Minister another reason why we need a full-fledged inquiry into the FSC.
Well, the leader of the opposition is saying anything. I just replied. The disaster, the way he's saying it is the disaster is behind him. You know? Because the former Minister of Financial Services, he came with proposals that to allow the FSC in order to expand the number of instruments and the activities and to reinforce the financial sector. And that proposal came from the Ministry of, in fact, came from the Minister himself, the former Minister. But, and of course, as Minister of Finance, what I did, because it was under the purview of the Bank of Mauritius. The Bank of Mauritius was consulted, and I have replied that the Bank of Mauritius was agreeable to this. And in fact, the Bank of Mauritius has issued a communiqué to say that this was the proposal to which they had agreed, and that the investment banking license would be more appropriate to be licensed by the FSC. I have said that. Now, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, is the way he's asking the question is as if I was the one behind all this changing of amending the law. Of course, as Minister of Finance, I have to present the budget. Of course, I have to include whatever proposals are made by different ministers. It didn't come out of my own head. It came out because I consulted all my ministers at that time. And whatever proposals are made, and what we, after discussing with after discussing with the stakeholders, then it is, of course, it is my responsibility. I'm not shying away from my responsibility as Minister of Finance. I included it in the budget. This is how it happened.
Honourable Sudan. Honourable Sudan, please. Order. Honourable Sudan. Honourable Sudan. I'm calling you several times. Honourable Baden. Please. Honourable Sudan. Honourable Sudan, please don't make provocative remarks. I'm saying that we are running out of time. Please don't make provocative remarks. And I have said several times that I don't want, from a sitting position, making remarks is not allowed.
Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister has quoted at length from a communiqué dated 2nd of March from the FSC, at length. Is he aware that in that communiqué, the FSC stated that as at the 2nd of March, none of these entities, so far none of the licenses have commenced business operations. Is that true when compared to all the information we've provided with today? And secondly, is it still, and it was stated, have been requested not to start operations without the prior clearance of the Chief Executive. What they said, was it exact in facts? And since then, has there been a change? Has the FSC allowed the entities concerned to operate?
It was the FSC who informed those companies not to start operating their business. And it is still the case today. So whenever there is going to be any other information that will be looked at by the FSC, whenever they will act in consequence of those investigations and the outcome of those inquiries.
Thank you, Madam the Speaker. The Honourable Prime Minister just said that he will leave no stone unturned as regards the various inquiries that are being conducted by the authorities. Now, would the Honourable Prime Minister be prepared to request two persons? The Deputy Prime Minister, who seems to be aware of the source of funds of Mr. Álvaro, as well as requesting the President of the Republic to waive her immunity and collaborate with investigations that are being carried out.
Madam Speaker, these are mere allegations again. And this is why I started my answer to say that you're just saying anything. The Deputy Prime Minister, he's got nothing to do with this matter. As I say, he's got nothing to do.
Honorable Bhagwan, please. Okay, Honorable Bhagwan, please. Please.
And with regard to the and with regard to the President of the Republic, I think it's a shame to bring her name down at this level to this issue.
Honorable Bhagwan.
From what we have heard and what we have been listening during the past weeks, the comments of the Deputy Prime Minister, the various comments made in the press, and also the proximity of high members, officials of the movement liberateur with Mr. Sobrinho. Has the Prime Minister inquired whether the reason why Mr. Sobrinho has been protected, given 25, 30 times VIP treatment instead of a VDP treatment, because he's one of the principal financiers, bailleurs de fonds of the movement liberateur and the MSM?
Well, again, these are cheap allegations, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Jabu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order, please. Order. Order, please. Order, please. Yes, Honorable Jabu.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, the Swiss authorities are actually investigating on Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho case. Now, can we know from the Honourable Prime Minister whether there's been a formal request of mutual assistance between the Swiss authorities and the Financial Services Commission?
As I have said, in the light of what we've been informed, there has been a request to furnish us with information from the Swiss authorities.
Honorable Routine.
Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned there are various inquiries, police inquiries. One of the police inquiries is to be conducted in whether names has allegedly been included improperly in application filed with the FSC for the permits to be issued. That is the communique of the FSC. So we wonder from the Honourable Prime Minister whether he has inquired with the FSC. Why is it that when this information was already public, when the people's name had already gone public to say they did not authorize their name to be used, and when it is a criminal offense punishable by 5 years imprisonment, the FSC waited for Mr. Álvaro Sobrinho to leave Mauritius to refer the matter to the police for inquiry, when this is an arrestable offense?
Madam Speaker, as soon as the FSC was informed, gathered information about this issue, in fact, the FSC gave a declaration to the police. The police is inquiring, so we'll allow the police to conclude the inquiry, and the matter will be referred to the DPP, should there be any action to be taken.
Honorable Selvon.
Merci, Madame Speaker. L'honorable Premier ministre, étant donné que l'article 3.5 du Good Governance and Integrity Act 2015 stipule the onus shall lie on the respondent to establish on a balance of probabilities that any property is not unexplained wealth. Est-ce que l'honorable Premier ministre pense que AS qui doit prouver qu'il n'y a pas d'enquête sur lui pour unexplained of hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, Madam Speaker, the honourable member is talking about now unexplained wealth, but there must be, somebody can take a case before the appropriate institution, and the institution will inquire on that issue.
Yes, Honourable Balumudi, and then last question for Honourable Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Prime Minister just mentioned that Mr. Álvaro travelled through the VIP lounge for 21 times. May I know whether all these were approved by the Prime Minister's office, that he's transiting the VIP lounge for 21 times, whether it was approved by the Prime Minister's office?
Not 21 times, more than 21, I said. I can... on 31 occasions. Let me...
Order, please. Order, Honourable Balumudi. Order. Order. Yes. Yes. Yes.
But he was, on what I said, maybe that confused the opposition. On 21 occasions, he was accompanied by his family members and close collaborators. And the 31 times, yes, was approved by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Yes. Last question, Honourable Leader of
Speaker,
Opposition.
it's clear, in fact, there's going to be a big cover-up. And I'll tell you why. Because here, the FSC, clairement and funny, has really not done its work, because Section 18 and 20 of the Financial Services Act imposes conditions on the issue of a license. Given this, given that the Financial Services Commission, the chairman, is the Prime Minister's own financial secretary, I'm going to ask the Honourable Prime Minister that it is not adequate, it is not acceptable that the FSC inquires on the FSC. It's not acceptable, because it's FSC here mainly which has gone wrong, and BOI also. That is why, Madam Speaker, we in the opposition want an independent inquiry, not the same people inquiring on themselves, and we want to know exactly who has put pressure and menace against these institutions for them to deliver these permits in double quick time.
Madam Speaker, the FSC is not inquiring on FSC. And I can assure the House that no one has interfered, put pressure, or been involved in the process of granting the licenses to Álvaro. FSC has done its job in total independence, and in fact, let me point out that the honourable member of the opposition should know that, for himself having been a former finance minister, that the board of FSC doesn't deal with applications for licenses. There is a technical committee that looks into that. Those applications doesn't come to the level of the board. So don't say that it is the financial secretary who is one way or the other is involved in this matter.
Okay, time is over. Honourable members, order, please. Order. Order. Order, please. Can I ask members of both sides of the House not to continue with this discussion? It's over.